Hello, my name is Ryan Beeken, Director of Choral Activities at Wichita State University. I'm really looking forward to spending this time with you to talk about leadership style as an ensemble director and mental health mental health issues that we're currently facing in today's society and how that might need to inform our leadership style and how we work with young people. I'm going to talk today about the wellspring of human happiness. The wellspring of human happiness, my friends, is face-to-face human interaction. Human beings are herd animals. We are not meant to be isolated or alone. We're meant to socialize and be in groups. Thank God for choir. Studies abound touting the mental and physical health benefits of group singing. But yet, despite that, we are surrounded by anxious students, students dealing with anxiety and depression, perhaps peers, perhaps ourselves. Even before the dreaded COVID-19. These were issues that I know I have seen in my students and in my peers, and if I'm honest, also in myself. In order to frame our conversations as we move forward, let's be sure we have at least a common framework for just what anxiety and depression look like. Anxiety, a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. Depression, feeling severe despondency and dejection. It's where these two feelings collide that we need to be particularly mindful. We might notice restlessness in our students, trouble thinking, concentrating, or making decisions, excessive worrying, unexplained physical complaints, headaches, stomach aches, rashes, agitation. Let's look at some statistics. Between 2010 and 2016, teenagers in the United States who felt useless and joyless surged by 33%. Teen suicide attempts increased by 23%. The number of 13 to 18-year-olds who committed suicide jumped by 31%. The number of adolescents who experienced at least one major depressive episode leapt by 60%. Suicide among teenage girls reached a 40-year high in 2016. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the late 90s and early 2000s, the rate was steady or declining. Yet since then, there was a change. Between 1999 and 2018, the suicide rate leapt 25% in the United States. These increases appear among teens from every background, across all races, ethnicities, and in every region of our country. And my friends, this is not unique to the United States. These charts and numbers show the number of young people who died of suicide in 2016. Globally, over 222,000 young people died by suicide. It affects every corner of the globe. Africa, the Americas, Eastern Mediterranean, Europe, Southeast Asia, the Western Pacific. Everyone in the world is facing these challenges. We are all affected. We are one world. We are one people. All of these stats reflect what's being reported, reflect what's being treated. I wonder what the real picture looks like. So what has changed? What's different nowadays compared to before these statistics that we're seeing? Why has there been a recent spike in anxiety and depression and suicide? And remember, all of this conversation right now, for context, is pre-COVID-19. What do you notice? We have an area filled with young people. And how are these young people interacting? Not with each other. Time with friends. Screens have replaced face-to-face human interaction. It's making this presentation, frankly, odd for me. We require, we need, we thirst for face-to-face human interaction, and yet screens are replacing that. And that was before the pandemic. I adore this photo. All of these folks are engaged in seeing something spectacular, but only one human being is actually in the moment, taking it in and enjoying what's happening. Everyone else is viewing the moment through their screen. Interesting. Here are some more statistics. These come from the United States and discuss smartphone ownership or access. In 2012, 50% of teenagers had a smartphone. 2015, 73%. By 2018, 95% of young people own a cell phone, have access regularly to a cell phone in the United States. My children's grandparents even have cell phones and smartphones. This isn't unique to young people, though as we'll see, it's pervasive. Again, worldwide, in 2016, there were 2.5 billion users with smartphones. By the end of 2021, there will be 3.8 billion humans on the planet Earth with a smartphone. That is nearly half of the world's entire population. The global market share is expected to rise by 7% annually until at least 2025. These figures were published by the Pew Research Center in February 2019. In most of the advanced economies in our world, smartphones have, of course, been very common among young adults, but older generations are catching up. So if we look at these numbers, 84% of people between the ages of 18 and 34 own a smartphone in Argentina, 97% Australia, 90% Canada, 97%, so on and so forth. The UK, 93% of young adults owned a smartphone in February of 2019. Most of these countries, mid to upper 90 percentile. Emerging economies tell a similar story. No matter where in the world, no matter the economy, young people are overwhelmingly likely to own and operate a smartphone. Everyone is affected. We are one world. We are one people. Parents, teens, and researchers certainly agree that smartphones have a profound impact on the way we go about our daily lives, especially in terms of how we communicate with one another and how we choose to spend our free time. While it's perhaps early to really understand fully the implications, there is research to support both the negative and the positive connotations of using and operating smartphones. There is a variety of studies out there that link the time spent online to its impact on our mental health. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to shame smartphones. Smartphones right here, my little iPhone has more power in it than any computer I used in my undergrad or master's degree program. It's a wonderful tool that can be used and should be integrated into our daily lives. But I think it's important for us to think about the negative consequences of some of the choices that our young people might be making today. Teens who spend over 5 hours a day online are 71% more likely than those who spend less than an hour a day to have at least one major risk factor for suicide. Teens who spend 3 hours a day are 34% more likely to suffer at least one suicide-related outcome versus those that spend 2 or less hours. More time on social media is a direct correlation to an increase in unhappiness. But the inverse is not true. Unhappiness does not lead to more social media use, but social media use increases unhappiness. In one study, a group gives up Facebook, their levels of depression fall. Why? What's going on? What is lost? Well, people are spending less time sleeping. They're more likely to injure themselves. They're less likely to be able to just regulate their behavior. I have a 17-year-old daughter. When she doesn't get enough sleep, she doesn't function well the next day. She's not able to just navigate the daily trials and tribulations of her day. Perhaps an increase of risky behavior, of substance abuse, moodiness. All of this is a trigger for mental illness. So why aren't people sleeping? What's keeping my daughter up at night? And by the way, we've tried everything, taken the phone away, turning off the Wi-Fi. She almost always finds a way to access this information online, no matter what stipulations or curbs to her behavior we try to put into place. Why? FOMO, the fear of missing out. I suspect this isn't a new idea to most of us. It's an anxiety that an exciting or interesting thing is going on and we're missing out. We're not aware of it. For years, I did not have social media at all. And I was in grad school in 2016, 2017, that area. And my friends would get together and we'd be talking and they would all be talking about these things. Oh yeah, remember this, remember that. And I was always out of the loop. And I would say, what are you talking about? What's going on? And they go, oh yeah, that's right. You're not on Facebook. This was on Facebook. I finally caved in. I wanted to be able to connect with my friends and my colleagues and be able to share in these experiences that they were talking about and having. So I jumped on board the Facebook, Twitter, Insta, Snapagram campaign and got myself involved into social media because I was missing out. The story of Instagram. Oh, I'm just going to check out some pics. Oh, look at my friend at the beach. That looks so nice. I want to be at the beach really bad. How come I can't get to be at the beach? What's so special about her life that she gets to hang out at the beach and not me? How come I can't go? Can you relate? 56% of social media users are afraid they are going to miss something if they don't keep their eye on their social network. More than half of social media users consider taking a break from social media because they just need a break, probably now more than ever. Less time interacting with friends, less time interacting with humans in general. That's what happens when we don't sleep and when we spend our time on social media. We spend our life through a screen. More social isolation results in more risk factors for suicide. And then 2020 came along. COVID. Let's look at these numbers. Pre-COVID, or at the time that the pandemic starts. Worldwide, these figures were published a few weeks ago, August 27th. Nearly 1 billion people worldwide are living with a mental disorder. 1 billion. 3 million die annually from alcohol abuse. 1 person dies every 40 seconds by suicide. 1 person dies every 40 seconds by suicide. And now, billions of people around the world have been affected by COVID-19. Obviously, this has an impact on our mental health and well-being. How have we chosen as a society to face COVID-19? Necessarily so, but we've chosen to respond to COVID-19 by isolating, by living our lives even more through a screen. Recently published in June of this year in the Journal of Psychiatry and Psychiatric Disorders, a study of Egyptian patients, mental health patients, showed the following. From 4 different clinics in Egypt, about 2,800 patients were looked at prior to COVID-19. Of those patients, about 23% of them were facing depression, dealing with depression as their primary mental health issue. 14% anxiety disorders, 8% substance abuse, 5% obsessive compulsive disorder, and the other remaining 50%, some kind of psychotic behavior or other mental disorder. Now, I wonder how that has changed since COVID. The same 4 clinics in Egypt. This looks at the first 4 months of 2020, January through April, after the onset of COVID-19. Now 33% of all patients are dealing with depression, 26% anxiety, 16% substance abuse, 12% obsessive compulsive. Only 13% of the patients now are being treated for some kind of psychotic episode or other psychiatric or mental disorders. Again, here's pre-COVID and now post-COVID. In Australia, we have one bar is showing us the blue symptoms of psychological distress in Australian adults in the years 2017 through 2018. The orange bar shows us April of 2020. A significant increase in feeling restless or fidgety, a trend towards more people being nervous, certainly affected because of the confinement of the lockdown and anxiety about the infection. Fortunately, Australians did not see more serious symptoms of depression increase. However, they have a model, a 5-year model, that shows and predicts that suicide rates in Australia could increase by 25 to 50% per year for 5 years if action is not taken. In a survey carried out in March of 2020, 51% of young people in the United Kingdom reported that current coronavirus pandemic and the resulting public health measures have made their mental health a bit worse. In the United States, daily anxiety screenings increased by 370%. Daily depression increased by 394% between January and May of 2020. October 5, the World Health Organization. 130 countries were surveyed between June and August. This was published October 5th. 93% of the countries surveyed worldwide have obviously seen some type of a disruption in their ability to offer mental health services and support due to COVID-19. 89% of the countries report that mental health support in some way is included as a part of their response plan. Yet, only 17% of those countries actually provide additional funding to support mental health concerns that might be increasing because of the pandemic. Thank you, COVID-19, as if we weren't anxious enough already. But we are one world. We are one people. We are all affected. We can find a way to move forward. But what do we do? What does that look like? When all of this suicide, mental health concerns exist, and then we add COVID-19 to the mixture, what do we do? How do we move forward? My friends, we do our jobs. Face-to-face human interaction is the wellspring of human happiness. Again, thank God for choir. This is an opportunity for us as leaders, as teachers, as musicians. Choir might look and feel different. Band, orchestra, it might look different. It might feel different. But regardless of your circumstance, community, the act of somehow collaborating together in collaboration, in real time, fostering community and connectedness and relationships is something we can continue to make happen. Aaron Copland said, so long as the human spirit thrives on this planet, music in some living form will accompany and sustain it. My friends, the human spirit might be hurting right now, but it is alive and it is thriving, and music is going to accompany and sustain it. But let's think about for a moment all of this talk of anxiety and depression and concern about mental health and how our young people are responding, behaving. Doesn't this have implications for us, for our leadership, about how we're going to interact? This study investigated factors pertaining to the performance lives and experiences of professional opera choristers. Their full-time gig, they make their living by singing in the opera chorus. The number of choristers with high trait anxiety was 3 times that of the normative sample. And that anxiety was highly correlated with music performance anxiety. Of course, the stakes are high. They need to perform well to maintain their employment, their position. That makes some sense. What about with students? 78% of gifted adolescent musicians request help in dealing with the negative effects of anxiety. These particular students asked for more opportunities to practice performing, opportunities to talk openly and often about anxiety. They requested a more supportive atmosphere, training courses for relaxation techniques, a special performance training. How do I deal with this stress to perform well? These are all areas where a teacher may play a significant role. It's not just amongst the gifted. It's not just an issue with the professionals. High school choristers noted that anxiety occasionally distracted them from or interfered with their performance. Anxiety is even common among children performing in a choral capacity. Okay, so now we've got people are anxious already all over the world. People are depressed. Suicide rates are increasing. We've got COVID. We're socially isolated. And now you're telling me that choir is a spot where people get even more stressed out? I understand where you're at. I'm there too. It's layers and layers and layers of anxiety and stress. So how do we respond? What is our role? I love that little image of that guy coming up. Let's just watch that again. That conductor. What is our role? How do we as leaders behave and interact with our musicians, with those with whom we have the privilege to work with? How do we interact in a way that might move us forward in a positive and meaningful way? Let's just look at the ways that a conductor affects or impacts the way that their ensemble members feel. Another study. Investigation into the choir singer's experience, how they experience anxiety. These are the ways that the study determined the conductor impacts anxiety and feelings of stress amongst the members of the ensemble. 84% of all respondents said that the conductor has a massive impact. Only 16% said no. Only one respondent said it doesn't matter who the conductor is. That doesn't affect the way that I feel. How much of a role does the conductor have? 59% say a lot, 29% some, only 12 say a little. These are quotes from the study. The conductor is 75% of my experience. I make up the 25%. The conductor has complete control because they control the environment. The conductor can make or break a performance. They can cause a normally confident singer to feel uncomfortable and more prone to errors. Very important. The conductor can rob me of my joy. Isn't that what we're supposed to be offering is joy? Here we see characteristics of behavior that a conductor might display if the conductor is anxious, in a bad mood, doesn't have strong skills. Over here, we see the percentage of students that say that mood, that anxiousness, creates anxiousness in them. Mood, respect, confidence, if they're taking their time, arrogance. These things affect the way our singers feel. Trends. My mood affects the people that I interact with. If I show a lack of respect, if I single people out, if I'm putting that pressure on, that's going to, of course, affect singer feelings and anxiety. Of course, the trials and tribulations of teaching and rehearsing online exacerbate these challenges exponentially. Our nonverbal communication matters. Facial expressions, eye contact. Now think back about all of those studies about mental health, both before and since the pandemic. These studies I'm just referencing were done in 2009. It's more important now than it ever has been before. Face-to-face interaction is the wellspring of human happiness. My friends, this is an opportunity for us as choral professionals, as ensemble leaders. If as conductors, we are found to be a part of the anxiety problem, are we not also well positioned to be a part of the solution? Given these facts, given the current global mental health trends, and of course, given COVID-19 and its implications, doesn't our leadership matter more than ever? Isn't how we lead more important now than ever before? As if our work wasn't complicated enough already. Now we have more to add to our hat. We're not just a teacher, we're not a conductor, we're not just a musician. Sometimes we're a librarian. Sometimes we're a therapist, a cheerleader, a role model. My favorite thing here, down over here, friend, use cautiously, as if we don't have time to be friends. It's no wonder this is how we feel. There's so much coming at us. It's okay. We're going to be okay. One world, one people. We can and will get through this together. Let's look at ourselves as conductors and the creature. I call this person the creature. Let's watch again. That creature. Have you ever worked with someone, a conductor, and when they take the podium, they have an entirely different persona? They suddenly become maestro. And then outside of rehearsal, they act like a normal human being. How and why do we do that? To what extent is it necessary? How might we look at what the creature is and instead focus on how we could become a conductor teacher? So perhaps our poor preparation, our lack of planning, our lack of understanding our repertoire, of understanding how to help people use their voice or play their instrument in the most effective way. Have we created and cultivated an oral image of what that music is going to sound like so that we can then communicate it to our students? And then, of course, think about online learning platforms. Do you know how Zoom works? Do you know where the screen share button is? Do you have your learning platform figured out, how to use it, how to incorporate it into your daily practice? If not, it's affecting people, not just you. It's affecting everybody that you're being charged to interact with. As teachers, as conductors, if we're insecure, we're going to behave like the creature. If we're insecure, we're going to behave like the creature. The focus, this creature over here, they're focused on themselves. It's about them. This music is about me and my artistic expression. That's the creature. Creatures do not trust their singers. They don't trust the musicians or young people that they're working with. They need to control and micromanage every aspect of our work. Creatures are negative. The glass is half full. These are all the ways it's out of tune. These are all of the flaws. Think about the way that we are trained as musicians. We are trained to find the mistakes, find the flaws, and seek perfection. How is that helping if it's from that lens of what's wrong? This is all the things that are wrong. What does a teacher do? A teacher is prepared. They have a variety of strategies and ideas and tools ready to go to help lead students towards success, to lead students towards feeling good about the work that they are doing. They're aware of repertoire. They understand how the voice works. They have an idea about the music. And of course, they understand how they're going to deal with online platform learning. Teachers trust their students. They take risks. Trust. Do I need to spend 23 minutes on measure 1 because until you get it right, we can't go on to measure 2? Or am I going to trust that over the next several days, over the next several weeks of our time together, you're going to get there? I'm going to take that risk. The focus is on our shared experience, not on me and how it makes me look. The focus is on our shared experience, how our collaboration together makes us feel, how we're moving forward through our curriculum, our goals, our artistic standards together. Open to new ideas. Maybe I empower the students. How could we make Zoom rehearsals more engaging? What's wrong with me asking them? What's wrong with having the students generate the meaning behind the text? Let's interpret this music. Let's interpret this text. Let the students generate it. Don't just tell them what it means. What does it mean to them? Empower them to discover that. Positive. I really appreciated how everybody's folder was up and you made a great effort. Let's go back and see if we can make friends with more notes. That's one approach. Another approach, you're late. Do it again. It's flat. Do it again. You're late. Sharp. Sounds bad. Fix the tone. Negative. Those things might be true, but that doesn't need to be how we respond. Passionate. Are we detached and set apart? Are we passionate about what we're doing? We're engaging with people. I'm trying to look in this camera and engage. Are you engaged in that way with your students? Or is there a level of Zoom detachment? As you can see, I really like clip art. When I stumbled across this image, when I was researching about anxiety and these things, I stumbled across this image. And it reminded me of a recent experience that I had. The image here is meant that the dragon is the anxiety, and here's the human who's trying to deal with this fire-breathing anxiousness that's coming down upon them. And recently, I had an experience, and this image made me think of it. I taught high school in Iowa, in the United States, for about 16, 18-ish years. And my last position was at Waukee High School in suburban Des Moines, Iowa. And a couple of years ago, I received a note in the mail. I'm sure many of us have received the note in the mail, a card from a student, former or current, that's expressing in some way gratitude, thankfulness for the time that you've spent with them. And I opened this letter fully expecting that that's what I was receiving. It was not what I received. What I received from this student was a letter where she proceeds to tell me, in 2005, when our choir sang for the National American Choral Directors Association conference, that was one of the musical highlights of my life. I will never forget the looks on the audience's face when we sang the Rachmaninoff, Bogorodice Devo. But, Mr. Beeken, referring to me, not only were you the architect of some of my most treasured moments, you were also the architect of my most horrid memories. And then she proceeds to talk to me in this letter about things that I did that made her feel less than. Frankly, that made her feel abused. That was hard to read. I could have dismissed it. Well, that's just her perspective. Well, no, that's not really how I remember it. But I chose to really think and reflect. And you know what? I was really stressed out about that conference and about that performance. I had been auditioning for state, regional, and national conferences for a number of years and had never been selected. And then the very first conference that I get selected to have a choir perform at is the National ACDA Conference. I was a hot mess, stressed out. That manifested itself in my teaching. I would go down the line, sing it. It's your turn. You just heard her do it. She was right. Do it again. No, that's not correct. Are you going to have it fixed by tomorrow? That was my approach with 16-year-olds sometimes. Probably not good. Probably not helpful to anyone's emotional well-being. Were we good? Yeah, we were pretty good. But actually, when I reflect back, the choir that sang at that conference in February of 2005 was one of the least prepared, least musical ensembles that I've worked with in a 10-year time period surrounding it. Why? Because it was about me. I was a creature. It wasn't about our shared experience. My friends, with awareness, we can change. With awareness, we can change. We need to take a chance. We need to act. The world needs us now more than ever before. Business as usual certainly isn't working today. Perhaps it shouldn't have worked anyway. Can we use our current circumstance, COVID-19 and all of the yuck that goes along with it, can we use that to help us rethink and refashion our leadership? I used to be the dragon, breathing fire on those students. Now I hope to be the shield. Be empowered. A man who wants to lead the orchestra must turn his back on the crowd. Inspire. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. Be courageous. Be strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and brave enough to ask for it. I found this quote earlier today, and I wanted to share it. It's from Kevin Aucoin, who's a American makeup artist. I think I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. I might not be. In the 90s, he was responsible for the sculpted look of many celebrities and top models like Whitney Houston, Cher, Madonna, Cindy Crawford. This is his quote. Today, I choose life. Every morning when I wake up, I can choose joy, happiness, negativity, or pain. To feel the freedom that comes from being able to continue to make mistakes and choices. Today, I choose to feel life, not to deny my humanity, but embrace it. Parker Palmer has a fantastic book, The Courage to Teach. Here's a little excerpt. Teaching, like any truly human activity, emerges from one's inwardness, for better or worse. As I teach, I project the condition of my soul onto my students, my subject, and our way of being together. The entanglements I experience in the classroom are often no more or less than the convolutions of my inner life. Viewed from this angle, teaching holds a mirror to the soul. If I'm willing to look in that mirror and not run from what I see, I have a chance to gain self-knowledge. And knowing myself is as crucial to good teaching as knowing my students and my subject. My friends, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? What do your students see? What do they deserve to see? I know, so many hats, so many expectations, but be reminded face-to-face human interaction is the wellspring of human happiness. What better form of unplugged, face-to-face human interaction exists? Choir. I know Zoom is still not unplugged, but if that's all we got, let's embrace it and make the best of it. In 2018, I was very fortunate to conduct an honor choir for the North Central and Central ACDA division convention. After that conference, I got home and I found a note tucked in to my folder that a student had given me, and he must have handed it to me, and I put it in there absentmindedly and said, oh, I'll read it, and I stumbled across it later. This young man was in 6th grade, 12 years old. He shares in his letter how wonderful the experience was, thank you, but then he talks to me in the letter about his daily life, how he's bullied, how he doesn't have friends. And he says that he wrote a poem that he wanted to share about why he sings. I'd like to share that poem with you. I want to leave this world behind, to wake up a different person. My life is perfect, a loving family, a home, food on the table, and clothes on my back. Still, almost every day, I am overcome with an intense and abrasive sadness. As the days drag on, they bring me with them. I pretend to be this charismatic and outgoing guy. This sadness that possesses me becomes the standard I hold myself to. The pain, the agony, and distress is there from the moment I wake up until the minute I fall asleep. This is only abolished through music. This is what runs deep in my veins, keeping me safe. So this is why I sing. 12 years old. Life is a song. Sing it. Life is a game. Play it. Life's a dream. Realize it. Life is a sacrifice. Offer it. Life is love. Enjoy it. Love one another and help others to rise to the higher levels simply by pouring out love. Love is infectious and the greatest healing energy. Remember why you sing and lead with love. The world needs it now more than ever. And also, don't forget to maybe take a look in the mirror. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. I hope that you'll strongly consider how you interact with your constituents and how you can make small changes that might make huge, meaningful impacts on the experiences that all of those people that we work with daily have. Thanks.